Welcome. This is Crime Queen. If you're watching or joining us for the first time, this is where we get excited about love. This is where we ignite that which dwells from within us, that which comes alive, makes us smile. Hence, we say the crimson light is life. So, I am just reminded about the word smile. It actually has 5 letters, SMILE. And just to reinforce this learning, it equals 22. 22 is a master number, and it's also in the 22nd chapter of Luke. Let's see, Luke. Just going over this 3, 3, 2, and 5. So that's 7 and 3 is 10 and 3, 13. Wow. I knew there was a message in Luke of chapter 22. If you see here, I have had this revelation with the number 13. The number 13, which we are told is such a terrible number, I feel has a secret, and more than I have seen, I feel that it is the key answer to a lot of things, and we need to be mindful of this. So if you're watching this and you have any ideas how we can look at this number in a more positive light, feel free to share your comments with me. So smile, we see is 22, which equals 4, but also Luke, who is giving us that message in the chapter 22 of that book, which also equals 4. His name also equals 4. I'll just double check. 5 and 2, 7, 7 and 3, 10. And 10 and 3 is 13. There we are. And just to remind you of the revelation that I encountered with this, it also is when joined together in unity, it's the union of number 2, it's 1 and 3 together. So there is a embedded factor of number 2. So there is a double union, I believe, takes place in this section of the sacrifice. Something else has just come to my attention on wonderful, wonderful. So anyway, we'll see. Look into it. It's just the eurekas are just flowing. Okay. And it's in the sense of looking at the word Satan, and it's SA and SA. This is what was popping at me right now. Okay. So that's a message that I am just guided to give right now, but the focus of this presentation is still with Satan. And yes, who would think that I would get a high on Satan? Okay, well, okay. So Satan equals the number 10, and we see that. I'll just put the numerical values here again. And this is the second presentation with Satan and Job and God. Okay. So in the first presentation, we see how God had this bet, if you like, with Satan. He says, I bet you can't really get my servant to go against me. And of course, and Satan would, of course, take God on that bet. But God said, there is one condition, that you do not lay your hand on him. You do not stretch forth your hand to him. Now that was really something. And here we have discovered the key why Satan was unable to do that. So Satan was unable to stretch forth his hand because in the name Job, just going over this, Job 162, 162, Satan could not get to 6. God had created man in his image and likeness. Perhaps Satan was not in that equation. He missed on something in that point here. And yet still we are thinking that Satan is stronger than we are. And I suppose there is an argument to something like that. If we uh, um, put in our thoughts on that equation, because there is an aspect to that 6 here, which shows, of course, 3 twos are 6, and in here as well, the developmental stage. Of course, let's just to remind you, to show you how Satan comes to this point here as well. So Satan really is operating in essence from 1 to 4. I say from 1 to 4 because in 4 here has, if you add 1, sorry, you add 1 and 2 is 3, 3 and 4 is 3 and 3 is 6, and 4 is 10. So we see how 10 comes to play here. So this is Satan, but we have this number 5. And so perhaps this section here, where it is said that when you are in Christ, you are a new creature, yet still Satan's name ends on 5 here. So this would be indicative that this point here is a point of hmm, is a point of balance. It's a point of it's an axle, the middle of an axle, the middle of like an anchor. So 5 would be, it'd be interesting to do the word anchor just to see what derives from that. But just to substantiate my point, however, I know it also means it's a key. K-E-Y. K coming here, E and Y. Okay, so that is 2, 5, and 7. So we have 5 and 7 is 12, 13, 14. So 14, 1, and 4 is 5. So this is a key. So Satan, to some extent, has a key to that point here, that point of where we are making a decision to go either right or left. And so he has, we could see that 5 is pointing here, but also this way. So basically, it's giving the indication that when we are ready to make a decision, we can either decide to go to heaven, this part here, or go back to hell on that part here. Okay, all right. So just for this point with Satan, and we have Job. So we are covering how Satan was not able to go further than 5 because he was not meant to stretch his hand. But also the word Job, we know, is 9. 9. All right. So God, this is the part that we want to cover now. God was the one said to Satan, God said, this is here, have you, Satan is really going back to 1, have you considered my servant Job? And of course, we see even in that, because sacrifice is really giving us a key here too. So we see there is a correspondence with Satan, 1 here and 1 here. 1 in sacrifice, S-A, and the 2 is coming here, and so on till we get to 5. Okay, but there is direct correlation here. Now, what I would love to do here is circle this number, because this seems to be the number that holds the key to 5 stem. 2 here, as I have showed, the word Job. Okay, let's do our B like this. But of course, this is it. This is it. Okay, so this is Job. And in that B, we have covered is a secret chamber, if you like. So B, if in our way of writing, this is still B, but there's another chamber here. It's showing that on the surface, but there's a secret number to be that makes it 4. 2 and 2, 4. It comes under here. So this is 1, and we add 3 to it. This is 4. So this is the circle. Now this, oh, I think I have said this before, but it is really, it's coming down in a deliciousness that as if I hadn't digested before. So I have been going on about the number 13. I know I have said that, and we just drew that reference again in the last presentation. So there is in that, it's like the number 13, as I've just said, is really offering a key. There is a key in the number 13. So I have been okay doing this at all as well. I need to just get it's really connecting the dots because the word revelation equals 13, which when added together equals 4. So again, we see the B here is revelation. All right. The other thing I wanted to point out, so we have B. So there is that secret chamber. Perhaps Satan didn't know about this secret chamber, but because it's got only 1, 2 here, and there is a hidden 2, that means that he probably was not aware that God has made a sacred agreement with man, that no matter what, he would always love him. And so this is really delicious. So there's the secret agreement that Satan was unaware about. And we can see when we, of course, Satan is so occupied, he's looking this way to that one, that first, and he's going back and forth. He can only go back and forth, but he has not realized that to one side of him, to one side of him is the number 15. And of course, we have been working. I had taken into consideration the number 15 today because 1 and 5 is 6 and 15. Oh, I am so thankful because I believe this is such a strong and wonderful and delicious revelation that is happening here. So 1 and 5 is 6, which is my number 15, 6. These are my numbers. And wonderful, wonderful. Okay. And here would be 2. So there is um, that union that had taken place. And so Satan is really would only have access to what he is seeing from this side. He probably does not, even if he knows about adding 1 and 5 being 6, which would have to be able to tempt man, to say and to push and to torment man, that would be visible here, but he was not allowed to stretch forth his hand. He was not allowed to go beyond that point. That is the key. So although there was a key here with 5, he's not, in actual fact, maybe to use that key, it means stretching forth. So he couldn't really go beyond that point. He could only take mankind to this new era, this new state of confusion or abundance or whatever it is, because it is said it's the number of abundance. But we also are reminded that of the 6 here, that is the number of man, meaning it's the number of love, but it's also everything man entails. Okay, so we see that here. And of course, man has, in that dimension, man also has the key to make his decision. The other point I wish to elaborate on is that in the word Job, we have Job comes here, one on the jazz. So he had done all his jazz business where he was prosperous and had loads of cattle, and he was a very, very rich man. So we see that with Job. And so there he is showing here, but he's also showing on the forks here, the zero or O here. So he's also shown here, which is very, very important. So this O is the O that we have been talking about, because God is the one who has said to Satan, "Do you consider my my servant Job?" But God is actually, when we look at the um, when we look at the numerical value of God, God equals 8. Now, we have done this before, but I want to really show this. So equals 8. But 8, as I have said, is really a circle like this, but it's like a rubber band has been folded. It's really representing 8, the journey that we take to go up and down, the decisions we make, and it's not always smooth. We go back and forth. We twist it and it's up or down. But this is the circle here, and perhaps um, the letter B is also a representation that in Job, his name was also constituting that heaven and earth, like in 8. Mm, 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 mm. Right. Like in 8, like we see with the letter H, the letter H here. So it's like saying, okay, we are one, I've got you. God is up here holding Job's hands because this is 8. And right here, okay. So we see how this meaning, this is why they say, well, when God is in you, when you acknowledge the God within you, that harmony. I'm glad, I'm really loving this word here right now. When we are harmonious, nothing can move us. We have God in the midst of us. This is really just lovely. So Job would have found God in the midst of all of this when he's able to make those distinctions in his, because there's one point he really took account of all what had been, and in all things he couldn't curse God. He couldn't curse God because he really had the opportunity to look at his life and being in that 5, because having the interaction with Satan at 5, at the point of 5, would be a constant reminder of whether he goes left or whether he goes right. Okay. And there was one other point, of course, I've added how, showed how this comes to number 10, which represents Satan here, and also how Job is 9. So we can see, even with that one here, that one meaning, this would also show that Job was an equal sum, you could say that too, an equal sum of 8 and 1. Job is an equal sum of 8, meaning God and Satan. So when we unwrap this 8, this 0, we unwrap this 0, which is the rubber band, which is God, and we have Satan here. Are they different? Or are they one and the same? But we know we also have this as man. Man equals 10. So, do we say that man is just Satan, or man is a construct of God and Satan, or Job, or Job? And now we understand the full meaning of Job. Mm, 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 mm. Wow, Steve Jobs. Okay, so I hope you have found this fun. I hope you have found this beneficial. And if you like this presentation, feel free to click the like button, leave your comments. I'd be happy to read them and make sense of them. Just feel free. All right. So, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. It has been so delicious. I hope you have shared in the presentation of this wonderful meal, because it's like a meal that if we are able to use numbers and use numbers correctly or understand them, I'm sure they'll be of a good tool for us. So I leave you with this. In the meantime, stay blessed, stay bright, and stay united. United. I suppose my elder United is calling through. Wonderful unity is, I'm saying, is calling us to be united. Okay, I'll just take it as that. And so, all right, and stay ignited. Right. So, thank you. Namaste.